Everybody's telling coaches that they need to build a personal brand, but the reality is that personal brands don't automatically scale a business. What scales a business is leverage, strategy, and positioning. I've seen coaches with hundreds of thousands of followers barely able to make $2,000 a month from their audience. Yet on the other hand, you have people like me who, with just 2 YouTube videos this year that combined a total of 812 views, was able to generate $20,400 alone from those YouTube videos in high ticket sales. So you've probably been outreaching, you've probably been creating content, you've probably been staring at the ads manager columns and working far too hard, and yet you're still wondering what the difference is between you and these people who you see that are just absolutely flying in your space right now. So this video is going to show you the real reason, and it's going to show you the leverage models that the top coaches in your industries are all leveraging to get ahead. You see, if you're a coach or a consultant in this space in 2025, then you're most likely trapped in this cycle of posting content, getting engagement, but just not getting any applications, not getting any high ticket sales. So you move into sending DMs and doing outreach like you've been told to do by everybody. And yet you're finding that you're spending hours every day in conversations that are just leading nowhere with people who are just not interested or in need of what you have. And yes, it works here and there, but it is just so draining. And you could be spending your time far better. And it does maybe work here or there. You might sign a client through cold outreach, but the immediate feeling you get is just a sinking feeling of, where is that next high ticket client going to come from? So then you push harder, you create more content, you send more DMs, you spend more on your ad spend. But you see, if the model is broken, then more just means burning out faster. And this is the truth that most of you will be facing. You see, you don't have a volume problem, you have a leverage problem. And I've personally seen both sides of this. One of the first ever coaches I worked with had like 26,000 followers on Instagram. So we had a decent sized audience, lots of attention. He would get hundreds of comments on every video, really high engagement. He lacked the ability to convert attention into clients. He had no value or intention behind his content, so he was just producing noise. And he really struggled. Another client I had that was facing troubles was signing clients manually through just like unbelievable amounts of outreach. But the trouble was, it wasn't sustainable or scalable. And again, they were a prime example of somebody who would spend hours in the DMs only to just speak to people who weren't really gonna ever become clients. And then I've seen the flip side of things, where we had a client do a mid-ticket launch, and on the first day, they closed $10,000 in cash collected. I've seen another client that had a relatively decent sized audience, and they were basically dead broke because they were trying to sell like affiliate deals in their profile, and they were barely making $100 a month from quite a big sized audience. And just from changing a few things, implementing like these leverage models, he was able to go from that to being able to get to 5-6K a month consistently while still in high school. And his life is now like completely changed because he just understood what he needed to do. And the difference was not working harder, it was not trying to force harder, it wasn't even about force itself. The difference was leverage. And the coaches who do scale in your space, they don't just throw more time and more resources at the problems. They build systems that over the long term scale time, scale attention, scale conversion, and scale influence. And once they make these changes, their businesses go from feeling fragile to feeling like a compounding machine. So how is it that you actually start to build leverage within your business? It comes down to 3 pillars that I've sort of uncovered through just doing this firsthand. Pillar 1 is to generate niche attention. If you are selling high ticket as a coach, you do not need 100,000 views or 100,000 followers. You need 100 buyers. That means any content you do produce has to be laser focused towards those 100 buyers instead of thinking that you have to go out and get 100,000 eyeballs. And the last thing you want is high volume but random reach that just can't convert. Pillar 2 is you need to nurture with systems. Most people I see today, especially coaches, they just post hoping that something lands. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping for it to stick. Whereas the smart coaches who actually do less but their outcomes are always more are the ones who are incredibly intentional and specific with their content assets that they produce. And they basically design a nurture mechanism, a nurture machine that works 24/7. That's why YouTube is so powerful, because one well-built YouTube video can qualify, pre-sell, and completely nurture a prospect into becoming a client. And I'll touch on another example that I mentioned earlier before. 2 YouTube videos that I released this year literally got, I think it was 812 views across both of them. And those 2 YouTube videos in high ticket sales gave me $20,400 in revenue. And that is actually the difference between noise and assets that work for you, whether you're, whatever you're doing. They work for you in your sleep. Now, pillar 3 is the ability to convert with infrastructure, because once you've nurtured the right people, the specific people you're looking to target, you need a frictionless pathway for them to take action and become closer to becoming a client. Because once you've nurtured the right specific attention, that perfect avatar that would be an ideal buyer, that's when you need a frictionless pathway for them to take action and get closer to becoming a client. Landing page funnels, DM funnels, because without these, attention just leaks all over the place and you sort of ramp up your inefficiency. But with those things in place, every single ounce of attention compounds and is squeezed into its full potential. You see, most coaches, they actually never fail because they're bad at coaching. Most coaches I see genuinely have something really valuable that they can be providing to their market. They just fail because they misunderstand how growth actually works. A lot of coaches think they need a bigger audience, more attention, but the truth is that it really isn't about size. It is about niche attention. If you don't really take time to deeply understand your ICP, their pains, their setbacks, their troubles, you'll just constantly attract viewers instead of attracting buyers. And 1 million viewers will never change your business, but 100 buyers that are high ticket definitely will. Another misconception is just believing that posting any content counts as growth. So they post what they think looks good, they post what thinks will go viral or get engagement, but likes certainly never equal leverage. Content without intention, I'll say it again, is just noise. The coaches who win are those who use systems that are repeatable, like YouTube, for example, to consistently produce content that pre-sales, nurtures, and converts automatically. And maybe the biggest mistake I see coaches make is that they optimize their entire funnel around the 3% of their entire market that are ready to buy today. I see it with almost every coach. I literally look upon their profiles and everything. It's all centered around convert today, type forms in their bio, funnel links in their bio. It just doesn't make sense when you look at what the biggest game players in this industry are doing. Because while you're trying to target, by the way, the most competitive segment of the market, when you don't have nearly as many case studies, ad spend, or anything like that, or influence to be able to convert that sector of the market, you're actually missing out on up to 40% of the market, because 17% of the market at any given time is solution aware, and then you have another 20% that are problem aware. And when you're just focusing on trying to convert people today, you're missing out on that entire segment of the market which could buy from you not today but tomorrow. That is the future revenue that most coaches are just throwing away, and the opportunity cost is just like staggering. I mean, another factor you have to take into account is that there's no longer huge waves of trust when it comes to selling information or coaching or accountability, as there was 5 or 6 years ago, when you could just throw money into an ad campaign that goes to a funnel, like very direct, and just convert and print cash. That is long gone, and it takes far more smaller steps of trust to be able to build enough influence and enough connection with someone, enough belief from them into you before they actually convert into a client. Right now you're most likely playing short-term games, and you're just falling into these short-term cycles that are never going to scale your business. So what actually does start to happen when you start flipping into a leverage model? Well, for number one, your content stops becoming noise and starts being a 24/7 sales rep. Prospects enter your world already nurtured, already feeling like they've connected with you, already confident in your outcome, you as a person, and your method to deliver the outcome. And when this happens, revenue becomes predictable, cash flow becomes consistent, and that constant anxiety of where is the next client coming from just disappears. And another thing as well is people talk about revenue. This isn't about building revenue vanity or vanity metrics. This isn't about the most subscribers or the most revenue. We want to build profit. The goal is winning back time, predictability, and high ticket revenue. And that is just what I've seen firsthand. You know, $20,400 from 2 videos that took me less than a couple of hours to create, a $10,000 launch in mid-ticket sales from just literally simple positioning and building like extremely simple models into somebody's business. A fitness coach who went from big audience, completely dead broke, to consistent 5-6K months while still being in high school. You know, that is the ROI of leverage. Look at Alex Hormozy, the influence he's built, the personal brand he's built, the intention he's built behind everything over the last couple of years. And ever so recently, he was able to make $100 million from one weekend. So the choice that you have to make this year and next year, and however long it takes before you finally decide to stop going into these cycles of short-term loss, really, chasing clients, working harder, working overtime, spending more money on ads, posting more content, and just creating more noise and essentially just being forgettable. Or you can step into a high leverage model where your content, your systems, everything is compounding simply and efficiently. You know, the systems, the content, the positioning, that's doing the heavy lifting for you. And that is exactly what I help coaches build. So if you would like to see how that would look like in your business, then there's absolutely no pressure here, but there's a link in the description below and you can check it out, fill in a form, book a call with me, and we can just overview your business, look at these key bottlenecks that are holding you back, and basically establish a roadmap that you can start implementing to build real leverage into your business and start to scale predictably in a simple way that is like highly profitable. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.